Welcome to the Redvee TV preview show, supported by A-Star Recruitment for the 2019 season, as we look ahead to the round 25 clash against the Warrington Wolves this Thursday night at the Halliwell Jones. Into dead rubber, because we're the League Leaders Shield winners.
Yes, good. Good to have it all sewn up, isn't it, finally? To be honest, I kind of expected Warrington to get turned over by Catalan. So yeah, good to have it on the board. Well done, boys.
Yeah, listen, we can win 3 pieces of silverware this season. It's the start of August. We've got the first one won. Should we win on Thursday night, which, looking at the squads, which we'll come to in a minute, second place will be closer to bottom of the table than the top.
It's a mad stat, that, isn't it? It's a mad stat, and I think I've said it before. You want Super League to be competitive, you want it to be tight.
And it is from 2nd to 12th.
It is, and that's it. Listen, as a Saints fan, yeah, you want to run away with it every year. Have a couple of close games against your big rivals, a couple of good games, which I'm not sure last Friday was one of those good games. But for the good of the league, you want it to be tight, you want it to be kind of high energy, high performance. I just unfortunately don't think Super League's at that at the moment.
That said, we're not in a Premier League football situation where success has been bought.
No.
Because if you look at a lot of Saints team, it's a lot of youth. A lot of local lads, local academy lads come through. And it's been built to last for the long term. It's sustainable. It's not, let's just chuck money at players and hope it sticks.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I've seen, going back to the Premier League thing, I've seen a couple of discussions on Twitter about Saints should be champions now, first past the post. I do think there should be more made of it. I've said that before as well. And some saying, well, no, because then it'd be boring because the rest of the season wouldn't mean anything. Well, I'm sure as an Everton fan and me as a Burnley fan in the football, we realise that, you know what, some seasons that's what happens.
Yes, there's a lot of mediocre in between, isn't there? Where you're not going up, you're not going down. It's mid-table mediocrity.
It's almost like sometimes, do you think that rugby league fans kind of think that, I know they think we've got the best sports in the world, but kind of think, I don't know, somewhat differently to the majority of sports fans. I know the likes of...
Everyone's a winner.
Yeah, the NFL, I know what's the playoffs. Rugby union has brought in the playoffs. There's quite a few different things, but
that said, you're talking about, say, the NFL. There's 12 teams, I think, make the playoffs. Yeah, 8 divisions, 4 wild cards. 12 teams out of 32. It's not half the league.
Yeah.
For me, in a 12-team league, 5 is your absolute maximum.
Yeah.
You should get a chance to keep it interesting. I'm not into this mentality of that everybody needs something to play for. Do you know what? If you're a fan of your team, you should be going regardless, whether you're going up, whether you're going down, whether it's just to turn up on a Friday night, have a pint with your mates.
I'll come on to something that I saw on Twitter as well when we start talking about our game as well.
But yeah, that's where we are. So, teams
this week? For Saints, just one change. James Roby drops out and Matty Costello comes in.
You couldn't get the bubble wrap onto the coach.
Yeah. I think that smacks of
resting
him, yeah. Having a look at who we're against, having a look at do we need to play him, and giving him another week off.
Will this week show just who is Justin Holbrook's number 2 hooker?
Yeah, at the moment, and it would not surprise me to see Bentley start at 9. I think his versatility's moved him ahead of Smith in the 17. But it wouldn't surprise me to see Bentley start at 9.
The only thing that may prevent that happening is if they're both in the squad.
Yeah.
And we rest someone else and Bentley
possibly,
plays elsewhere and Smith plays at 9.
Yeah.
So aside from that, we're pretty much full strength. Does that show that maybe Justin's not been massively impressed at the performances that we've put in on the back of people being rested, and maybe it's the chance just the next couple of weeks just get full tilt and be ready for Wembley?
Possibly, but I think, like I asked the question on our Twitter and Facebook and said, will people bring anybody else in? And a couple of people said, yeah, they'd arrested a couple more, but didn't actually say who they'd then bring in off the back of it. Because once you go down into the kind of lads who've only made 1, 2, 3 appearances, without wanting to sound terrible, you've not got someone there like we'll say to Luke Douglas, who hasn't made an appearance for us, probably won't, but you've not got him sitting there who you can turn around and say, hang on, we've got an ex-NRL forward here, we've got young lads who are kind of making the way in Super League.
And I think it was you who said last week that, do you know what, you wouldn't rest anyone now, unless somebody has got a nickel. Now, listen, Roby was out for 6 weeks nearly. He's done the semi-final and then he did Friday, so
it's a shorter turnaround, and I know people turn around and say, oh, you can't blame that for anything, but with the likes of Roby, you're probably not going to play him in a Thursday game if he's had a Friday.
And is this James Roby now till the end of his career, essentially?
Yeah.
Play 2 in every 3?
But this is what we've got to get used to. Yeah, definitely. And we've got to get used to it, because there is going to be life after James Roby, as much as we don't like to think about it. There is going to be life after James Roby. So this is where...
What's that life like?
This is where
dark,
James,
like Stranger Things on the Underground.
You keep mentioning this.
You need to watch it.
But you have got James Bentley, you've got Aaron Smith, you've got Josh Eves, all pushing to be the next number 9.
Do we need to? Well, we need to find out whether someone is ready to step up, or when James does go, whether we need to bring someone in.
Yeah, and that's it. And the likes of Aaron Smith will be doing their utmost to get in the squad and stay in the squad. I don't think Smith's done much wrong. I just think it's kind of managing his game time as much as we're managing Roby's.
Now, Warrington this week, obviously the league leaders' shield has gone. Are they hedging their bets a little bit that they're going to finish second, and the resting players essentially? I know they've got a couple of injuries. Has Blake Austin getting injured at Catalan spooked Steve Price a little bit into resting some of the other stars in case it happens to them as well?
Possibly, but then he's going to have to do it for 2 weeks. Because is he going to do it next week when they play Wigan?
Probably.
And then does that make that Wigan game a must-win game for him? If they get turned over by us on Thursday, and then they go to Wigan and get beat, all of a sudden that second place is shaky.
And going to Wembley potentially with 3 losses on the bounce.
Yeah. So it's going back to it, possibly it spooked him, possibly he's just trying to play it savvy and almost doing what Holbrook's done over the past couple of weeks, where he's rested a couple at a time. Price might be doing that in like 2 batches almost.
Now, Matty Smith wasn't getting a game at Catalan. Not cup tied. I don't know what to make of that signing.
He might not be cup tied, but you had to register any signings before July the 19th for him to play.
So he can't play at Wembley?
I don't believe so, no. I looked at the RFL website as soon as that happened, and the last registration date that I can see was before the semi-final.
I hope so, because do you know what?
You can see it, can't you?
Does it ever give anybody a horrible feeling
Sulphur drop goal.
that he's going to do a sulphur drop goal at Wembley? Please let that be the case.
Warrington fans will... I don't think they're necessarily gonna like the signing too much. But you know what? If he's got someone in Blake Austin who's kind of off the cuff, he's your almost sensible halfback.
And you've signed Widdop for next season.
Yeah.
It's like, essentially, you had 2 options, didn't you? Matty Smith or Rangi Chase. And one's been keeping Super League fit at Catalan.
And one's just come back into the game, hasn't he? So
yeah, after the long layoff. So probably Matty Smith's the more ready to go, but probably wouldn't strike much fear into anyone.
No, but if he plays behind... if he plays behind a good pack and you've got good structures...
Appreciate Warrington.
He's fine. That's it. I see there's a couple of Warrington fans who put on the stats and will turn around and say, well, half the props didn't even make 50 metres.
Do you know what? We're showing great humility on this video.
We really are, yeah.
As if...
Do you know what?
As if anybody ever says we don't.
More humility than when the squad was announced. I had a little look at the Warrington backlash, because they'd only named an 18-man squad when I last looked at it. Matty Smith hadn't been announced. Has he been announced yet?
Well, let's be honest, even if they're named 19, it wouldn't have stopped them naming Matty Smith anyway, would it? So,
but one of their fans had gone on, and underneath it said, cue a record defeat at the HJ. Now, we all know rugby league doesn't necessarily work like that. But cue a massive defeat at the biggest defeat against Saints at the HJ. My confidence in Price and Fitzpatrick, is waning. I'm just going to sit at home instead for the game with my season ticket in my pocket. That is the worst possible supporter for me.
Yeah, and do you know what?
If you can't make the game, then fair enough. But to turn around and say, oh well, I'm not going to support my team because things are looking a little ropey for one game. Behave yourself.
Yeah. Listen, how many times have we turned up? We went to London, didn't we? We knew we were always
London
coming.
and back in it.
Yeah. But yeah, listen, we're a fan site, a fan account. We give opinion.
Yeah.
We have a joke about with opposition fans, and
Yeah.
you know what? We take it as well. When
Yeah.
we got beat last season, we still stood there, did a video, and took the stick that comes with it for failing, and we did it at Catalan. Do you know what? That's part of being a fan. That's part of the fan experience. We're not an official account.
Yeah.
And we'll have a laugh and a joke. I'll post pictures of somebody wearing a load of bubble wrap. I'll call Wigan the headhunters now and again.
Too much time on your hands.
But do you know what? It's a laugh.
Yeah,
And do you know what? We've got 8,500 followers on our Twitter. If 8,300 enjoy it and maybe 100 or so don't, then I'll take that.
Yeah.
Not really much else to talk about this week. Very short turnaround. I'd talk about Warrington fans scrapping, but that could have been anyone, couldn't it? It's. Yeah. I want to get on the high horse and give it loads about how bad fans they are, but you know what? If fans have been on the ale all day, which they have, and you get people slinging ale down from the back, which apparently is what's kicked it off. Well, we've seen on our Twitter people saying that when our fans throw fans, they'd have a go at their own. So if the French Catalan fans are doing... Yeah, well,
throw pints.
Won't be throwing
You
me.
won't be able to pick me up.
But if people are throwing stuff, people are going to react.
Yeah.
It's not right. It probably got more focus than it needed on it.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's not about Warrington. It's not about Warrington fans, Catalan fans. That's society.
Yeah.
For me.
I think the one disappointment I'd say from that is the conduct of the players, because all the way through that game, and I don't know what we expected, because we've called out Catalan for being grubby in the past.
Yeah.
We've called out Warrington for being grubby in the past.
And when you get them together,
You put them both on the same pitch and you're going to have it.
maximum grub.
You have a look at the likes of, and I'm going to name Chris Hill here, because Chris Hill is a good prop forward. He's got a good set of hands on him. But I feel he let himself down. I know there's people saying, well, he was worried because his family were in the stand. Let the referee ref the game. James Child has got pelters. Listen, if he could have handled that game better, fair enough. But there's a load of people who will give him pelters for it who have never picked up a whistle in their life.
I'm still of the opinion that, you know what, you probably should have took the players off the pitch. The game was over. Just abandon it and the result would stand. Kenny Edwards is the one for me, though.
Yeah.
Kenny Edwards riling the crowd up, trying to get them to carry it on. And you think, well, we said enough about him last season.
Well, the only reason I bring Chris Hill up is because we're playing Warrington rather than forcing on Catalan.
Although I will leave it on the point of Steve Price moaning about Catalan trying to grub the game and slow it down and spoil it. Well, where have we seen those tactics before?
Cat fits.
Yeah. Right, don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we will join you Thursday evening for hopefully a fan reaction video that sends Catalan closer to relegation than a League Leader Shield, which they can't reach.
Me and Warrington.
Who did I say?
Catalan.
Them as well.